Welcome in to today's edition of the TexAgs Rewind, brought to you by four-time Retailer of the Year Specs. I'm joined by Maddox Gavea.
What's up, Reese?
Not much. What's up with you?
Not much.
So what was your favorite part of the show today?
Honestly, I liked opening it up with the Astros. They got
W.
Weekend. That 18-1 dub is a great thing to see. What about you? I see you got the polo on.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
So the Astros, I enjoyed that part. But I would say Mark French, I'm a big basketball fan, so I enjoy hearing what his thoughts are. So here it is. Be sure to check it out.
Well, and Mike Elko is like already drumming up the hype. The train is moving for Mike Elko and company over the weekend, 4th of July weekend. Just a massive pair of commitments, one from my old stomping grounds, neck of the woods in Port Arthur, Texas, linebacker Tank King, and then
the tackling machine.
Tank King, the tackling machine, and then Bryce Perry Wright chooses the Aggies, one of the best and most disruptive defensive linemen in the country in this class. Bryce Perry Wright chooses the Aggies. That was on Saturday.
The 5th.
The 5th, and A&M beats out Clemson, Texas. Those are the main two. Miami was kind of periphery there, but Tank King was one we talked a lot about. It was going A&M's way for a while, and I think you talked to enough people down there and around that Port Arthur Memorial program, and he was this thing had been done for a while, and I think he got really close to announcing it after his official visit, or even earlier than that. Excuse me. You go back to some of these springtime visits he made during practice, and that's kind of when I knew.
It seems like it's even been before that.
He was
role with our publishing team and our recruiting team. You guys maybe have notifications on for him for a while.
Yeah, and that was
months.
I just felt it was one of these kids I felt good about A&M's chances with, assuming that I was making the assumption that A&M was going to go make a huge push for him, and they did. A&M, Michigan, Notre Dame, and then Texas was kind of way off the radar with that one, but he listed them in his top 4. I've known Tank for a long, long time, and I talked about this last week and on the in-home visit breaking down Tank. I first met him when he was a 13-year-old baseball player coming up to Franklin, Texas to play against playing tournaments, and we played against him with my 12 team in that age group. And Tank was always just one of the best athletes on the field. That was clear. And then you start figuring out, he's actually like baseball is just something he does because he likes it.
One of them is the obvious for me, though, their ability to rush the football this year. Mm-hmm. I mean, we know the offensive line is back. 3 good running backs are in that stable. And your quarterback and Marcel can run the football himself. So I get excited, one, about the obvious. One thing I look at, though, that I just think they're going to be better on the defensive line than people expect them to be. Now, surface level, you lose 3 draft picks off the defensive line. So people are going to say you're going to take a dip there. Going out to spring, I saw more spring practices, I feel like, than I ever have, because we had to broadcast the spring game on SEC Network Plus, and the day of the transfer portal, I mean, you got to figure out who's who.
You know what? We haven't even discussed this. Whose idea was it to put Seth McKinney on that show?
I think Stephen McGee had an influence in that.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, he did.
Well, I can just tell you that decision has been analyzed by one of the owners of this company.
Well, for about the entire first quarter, we had a microphone problem with Seth. I don't know if that was planned or if that was an actual malfunction. But going out to a lot of spring ball, I looked at a lot of the defensive linemen, and really started with Marco Jones, the young one, the freshman. I mean, and I was impressed. And I thought nobody's going to talk about this defensive line, and if they do, they're going to talk about what they lost in 3 draft picks. But I think people are sleeping on what they've gained through recruiting, through the transfer portal. Albert Regis is a guy, Cassius Howell's a guy that are returning, that are really going to get their shot now. I think they're excellent players. So something that people are sleeping on, I think, is the defensive line, because I think they're going to be much better than advertised in the preseason.
We've heard those 2 names a lot, but also names like DJ Hicks and Ryland Kennedy.
Yeah,
now that
they're
the
going to
guys
get their
are from
shot.
Exactly. Yeah. Are there, speaking with the excitement, right, that theme, are there any specific games you look at this schedule and, as a broadcaster, where you get to travel or you get to be at Kyle Field on game day?
At Notre Dame.
One of them you're going to be able to guess.
Really get you excited for the year?
I've never been to South Bend, Indiana. Never been on Notre Dame's campus, never seen a game there. We went there in 2000. I did not travel at that time. The Notre Dame game is something I've circled once that came on the schedule years ago. So I've always wanted to go to South Bend, Indiana.
There's certainly an element to the coaching aspect is, okay, we have all this data, and it's the old phrase of what can be measured can be improved, right? I agree with that, but if you overfeed the information to a kid, you're not really improving him. You're misfiring his circuits, right? You're making something that was probably really easy for him very, very difficult. Let me ask you this about Bucky McMillan's system with what we just talked about with the analytics. To me, is this like when Mike Leach started to get it going at Texas Tech and everybody's like, man, this is kind of like it's a quirky system and he doesn't have to have the best players and they're still going to score. Is that what Bucky is, or is it more traditional what the game is going to now? Basically, is he an outlier on today's game, or is he where the game's trending?
I think he's where the game's trending, but he's on the edge in a good way, right? And I think he's been doing this a long time. Look, he was at Mountain Brook in Birmingham for a while, and obviously what he's done at Samford. And I think we're gonna get shots up. You talked about information overload and short circuiting a player. I think there has to be a freedom aspect to that. And players are not robots, and you cannot control them. And I think one thing that Bucky, just in watching some tape on Samford, those players have no hesitation. So, yeah, we're going to play fast. But the thing is, you can't have players that are you have an open shot and they kind of hesitate. Nope, it's just we got to be straight up with it. And so I think that's what we're going to see is he's going to empower them to hey, I don't care if you miss it. If it's the right shot, you have to take it. And I think it's going to be fun for the A&M fan base, I think, because look, they averaged 83 points per game last year. You look at what Auburn did, you look at what Florida did, Bama certainly. It's a race to 100 with them. And I think what's going to be fun is we're going to kind of be in that mix now, and we got some players to go hopefully try and go do that. So you'll score some points, and I do think that's where it's headed. But with college guys, it's a little different than NBA. You don't have all day to sit around and go through it. So you got to give them bite-sized information.
Well, and then Bryce Perry-Wright, that's the one that got all the buzz, and it should have, because that was A&M was kind of on the periphery, looking on the outside looking in, and he takes an official visit, and kind of slowly but surely after that official visit, more and more A&M momentum starts happening. And I don't think the national sites had A&M in this race a couple of months ago.
No, they didn't. And you and I kept talking about it. We kept seeing more and more Texas. And now the Longhorns are saying if you go pay close attention, there's a couple of experts over there in that industry that like to take shots at me, you, and Howell low key, and then they want to shake your hands and be friends with you. So keep that in mind next time you come across a couple of them. You know who they are. But all of a sudden they weren't recruiting him. They were slow. That's not true at all. He could have committed to them a month ago, 2 months ago, 2 days ago. That's a straight up head to head, not just over Texas, because they're not the be all end all, but it does need to be pointed out sometimes with the way they move the target there. But over Clemson, Miami, and really could have gone anywhere in the country. Bryce Perry-Wright, I compared him, Bronny, like to DeMarvin Leal, but there's also, you watch him, there's some Matabike in there. If you remember Justin in high school, when he was about 250, people forget that, as Matabike is over here wreaking havoc for the Baltimore Ravens on the inside. He was about 250 out of high school, but he's just, to me, a perfect Mike Elko, as we write it out, SDE, just strong side defensive end in this defense. I think he's exactly what Elko loves. He can anchor. He can get after the quarterback. He's strong and powerful, and can really play the edge. Set the edge. I just see him as fast and really disruptive, man. Yep. What do you have, 8-9 sacks a year his first 2 years of high school football? 16
and a half sacks over his first 2 years of high school football at one of the premier programs in the state of Georgia. And you mentioned Billy Matabike. It's a combination of a lot of those guys who are just disruptive was the perfect word used to describe him, because he is constantly in the backfield. There's Matabike, there's some Dalen Mack to it. There's a lot of really intriguing qualities here.
Maddox, tell the people what to do.
Like, subscribe, comment. Is that it?
And
Maybe tell Maddox to speak into the mic.
Maybe speak into the microphone.
I got to go here a little bit. My
There we
fault.
go. Tell them again what to do.
Y'all got to go like, subscribe, and comment to TexAgs.
And come back tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Come back tomorrow. Don't forget that.